Back in 1958, Garth Williams, the author and illustrator famous for his drawings in the pages of Stuart Little and Charlotte's Web, published a sweet little children's book called The Rabbit's Wedding. The story follows two bunnies, one with white fur and one with black fur, who live in a large forest and play in the fields together every day. You can expect what happens next. The two rabbits fall in love. They grasp paws in the middle of their large forest and vow to be, quote, together forever and always. They marry in the moonlight, surrounded by gray rabbits. About a year later, The Rabbit's Wedding, this adorable illustrated story about a bunny rabbit wedding, was embroiled in a massive controversy across the state of Alabama. A state senator named Edward Oswell Edens leveled the book as, quote, propaganda for integration and intermarriage, and said that, quote, this book and many others should be taken off the shelves and burned, end quote. And burned. The White Citizens Council of Alabama, there was such a thing, called the book, quote, communistic and in defiance of laws then in place against interracial marriage. It was a librarian who said no. Emily Wheelock Reed, director of the Alabama Public Library Service Division, refused demands to remove the book entirely from the state's library system. Reed would go on to defend other titles from censorship, including Martin Luther King Jr.'s Stride Toward Freedom. Now, I share this story from a generation ago as a reminder that not only is book banning and outrage over literature nothing new, it is here to stay. Censorship is as American as voting, as baseball, as capitalism, and as resistance. Look at the novels that have received the most ire from politicians, the novels that have topped the most banned lists since we began the Velshi Banned Book Club in 2021. Look at George M. Johnson's All Boys Aren't Blue, Jodi Picoult's 19 Minutes, Stephen Chbosky's Perks of Being a Wallflower. These books will tell you all you need to know about America right now. These books, the ones threatened and the ones successfully censored, will tell you what is most important and most consequential about American culture today. What is on the pages of these books that's so dangerous to the American status quo? If you don't know, you got some reading to do. I've shared stories like The Rabbit's Wedding dozens and dozens of times during our meetings of the Velshi Banned Book Club over the past few years. I've shared stories about the books that change minds and hold up mirrors, stories about heroic librarians unflinching in the face of threats, stories about authors willing to stand behind their words and their ideas despite unrelenting opposition. Today's our last Saturday meeting of the Velshi Banned Book Club, but don't worry, the book club will have a home on the 11th hour. For this special occasion, though, I've invited an author who's fighting for literature across multiple fronts. She's the best-selling, beloved, and award-winning author of multiple modern classics, including the brand-new novel, Whistler. She's an outspoken critic of censorship and of book banning, a champion of access to literature, and the owner of a community-centered bookshop in Nashville, Tennessee. If you haven't guessed it yet, I'm talking about Ann Patchett. We'll be right back. Today's meeting of the Velshi Banned Book Club is officially in session. I am joined by one of the most important contemporary authors of our time. Ann Patchett is the award-winning, best-selling, and beloved author. She's the author of numerous novels, including her brand new work, Whistler. Ann, welcome to the Velshi Banned Book Club. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. And can I just say that your explanation about gerrymandering in Alabama was so helpful. I really appreciated the fact that I was sitting here waiting to go on and listening to it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, because that's our goal in trying to understand this. And by the way, in trying to understand your affinity for The Rabbit's Wedding, I bought a copy of The Rabbit's Wedding to see if I could understand what the... Right. I just couldn't get any part of it. Like, I just didn't understand. What are we fighting about here? What were they worried about? Now, obviously, when you put it in the context of... interracial marriage and stuff, I guess interracial rabbits or whatever the case is. But it's useful to understand that this nonsense has been going on for a long time.
It's also useful to understand that anytime you ban a book, you're on the wrong side of history. Yeah. And sooner or later, it will catch up with you, and people will be on a show looking back saying, can you believe that they were banning a book about miscegenation in bunnies? Yeah, yeah. And you also have spoken a lot about the role novels and literature and reading play in creating empathy, right? So I think they're on your side. The people who are trying to ban The Rabbit's Wedding are on your side, that if people read these books, they will gain empathy for black rabbits marrying white rabbits. Not only that, but so many of the books that are pulled from shelves are not actually books that are being read. They're not
Yes.
being read by the people who are wanting to ban them. They're not being read by any oversight committee. It's just if somebody has a problem, they pull them off. At our bookstore, Parnassus in Nashville, we have a whole wall display of banned books. And I'm always going into the store and saying, wait a minute, what is Where's Waldo doing?
Yeah.
Did you
Is
know
this just
that
Miss
Where's
Wild?
Waldo had been banned?
Where?
It's in 1993. It was pulled because the original Where's Waldo book by Martin Handford, they have the tiny, tiny, tiny little people, and then you have to find Waldo. There was a scene in the beach, and one of the people was topless in her swimsuit. And the book was pulled and was apparently extensively banned for years.
It's wild. The authors. I mean, look, some of the authors I talk to, I at least get where the controversy is. It still puts you on the wrong side of things because the concept of librarians, independent bookstore owners like yourself, teachers, is that I have no problem with parents wanting to be involved in the curation of what their kids read. I have zero problem with that at all. I have a problem with somebody else's parents being involved in the curation of what other people's families read.
Yes. And actually, my biggest gripe about banned books is that it makes people on both sides feel like they're doing something to protect their children. Yeah. And what we need to protect our children from, it's usually guns and phones. Yes. And so there really is a lot of sound and fury and energy. People feeling like I'm doing this to keep my kids safe because I can't do the real work of keeping my kids safe. Plus, people who ban books don't read books.
Yeah, and it's a template, right? Getting a book banned or challenged or removed from a school library or a community library, it's a template. And I don't know. Do you agree that schools and public libraries should have a system by which people can say to the institution, I have concerns about the availability of this book, and there should be a discussion, or should none of that exist?
Boy, if they could come up with a better way for it to exist, I think that could be possible. But the thing that happens is one person can call in, a person who doesn't even have a child in that school, and they immediately pull the book for review. But then there are thousands of books. Nobody has the time to review them. And teachers and librarians become self-censoring. And
yes, because in some states they actually get in trouble. We've seen the arrest of them in some states. So it's like, did I get involved in this to do this? Talk to me about the role of independent bookshops, because it's rare on our show on the Velshi Band Book Club to be speaking to somebody who's both a notable author and the owner of an independent bookstore. It almost feels like you, like librarians and teachers, are at the front line of a battle you didn't really sign up for, but you're there.
Well, for the most part, people aren't coming after independent bookstores because we have the choice. We're not under the jurisdiction of the courts about what we can put on our shelves. And so what a lot of people in independent bookstores are doing is saying quietly to kids in schools, you need a book, we'll give them to you. The problem really isn't about whether or not kids can get access to these books. If it's pulled from their shelves at school, they can go to usually their public library. They can get them on the phone. Yeah. The thing that always worries me is, do the kids want to read?
I'm with you on that, Anne. Thank you. Anne is the newest member of the Velshi Band Book Club. She's the author of many, many books, including her latest, Whistler, a novel. And as I mentioned, this is the last weekend meeting of the Velshi Band Book Club.